Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I'm Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of This Princess Kills Monsters by Ry Herman. This is a book from Dial Press Penguin Random House. It's coming out June 17th, 2025, so in a couple weeks, and it is a fantasy novel. I received this arc from NetGalley in exchange for a fair review. A fairy tale satire, This Princess Kills Monsters is entertaining and fun. What is it about? Someone wants to murder Princess Meliot. This is sadly normal. Meliot is sick of being ordered to go on dangerous quests by her domineering stepmother, especially since she always winds up needing to be rescued by her more magically talented stepsisters. And now she's been commanded to marry a king she's never met. When hideous spider wolves attack her on the journey to meet her husband-to-be, she is once again rescued, but this time by 12 eerily similar-looking masked huntsmen. Soon she has to contend with near-constant attempts on her life, a talking lion that sets bewildering gender tests, and a king who can't recognize his true love when she puts on a pair of trousers. And all the while, she has to fight her growing attraction to not only one of the huntsmen, but also her fiancé's extremely attractive sister. If Meliot can't unravel the mysteries and rescue herself from peril, kingdoms will fall. Worse, she could end up married to someone she doesn't love. So yes, this book is a fairy tale adaptation story. It's fun. It reminded me of Peter Beagle's I'm Afraid You Have Dragons in that it has a kind of a high fantasy feel while deliberately thwarting tropes. In this case, the book is twisting fairy tales while also being one. It's a pastiche in a way, like that book I read last year, Long Live Evil. That book was funny. I guess this book, Princess Kills Monsters, reminds me of lots of other books because it's building on kind of a similar idea. So if you like that idea of like subverting fairy tales or subverting fantasy, like things like that, you will probably really like this. I will admit I didn't know the story of the huntsman before this. It's not really something that was like shared to me in my heritage, even though I am of German descent. So I was like, oh, I've never heard of this before. So that part sort of went over my head in terms of kind of understanding what it was about. Though I did appreciate the gender bending aspects of the book and how queer everybody was. This is a very queer story. The book even features a trans man love interest, which you don't see very often in fantasy. So I was like, oh, that's great. The world building is quite fun as every sort of fairy tale creature exists, so you're not sure what will come up next, whether it's girls turning themselves into lakes or magic mirrors or dragons. The world building isn't very complex though in terms of how the various kingdoms interact, unfortunately, especially given only one kingdom has magic. I wanted to know more about kind of how that worked in the world and kind of how big this world was and like the kind of rules around it, because it seems like it was just like little, well, we only see the two kingdoms, and we only see one briefly, and it's just kind of like this fiefdom kind of plopped in the middle of a forest, and I'm just like, how does that work? But I guess that's the thing. Fairy tales don't really require that kind of realism, so this is not like a deep fantasy. My hair is bothering me today. The writing is also very easy to engage with, as the style is very pared down and straightforward and has lots of fun dialogue. But I will admit there's this god-awful phonetic speech for one character that was a huge pain in the ass. I can't stand phonetic speech. I'm not going to get into it, but whenever I'm editing, I always am like, you know what? Like, you don't need this. And I give, like, explanations for why, because, anyway. Unfortunately, the characters themselves fell a bit flat for me. There was a lot of them and quite a few sections of characters telling fairy tales to one another, so I didn't feel I knew them that well. Like, I didn't dislike them, but I can't say much kind of about them. Like, Meliot is kind of a YA character in a way, in that she's, like, awkward and kind of clumsy and doesn't know what she's doing, and she's like coming into her own, which is fine. I actually didn't find that a problem. It's just I was like, she wasn't very complex, and neither was, I mean, I guess that's not super fair, because it turns out that there is kind of a complexity between her and her stepmother's relationship, but it just kind of is dumped in at the end. It would have been nice to see it kind of broadened out, maybe happened a bit earlier in the story to kind of give it a bit more kind of emotional heft. I also found the main villain's motives were very flimsy, so it was hard to find tension at times, because I was kind of like, wait, what do they want? Well, why are they doing this? Like, I was kind of confused. Tied to this, the romance was also a big focus of the story, but there was nothing kind of surprising in that regard. The couple seemed like a couple pretty much from the get-go, so I didn't find their love story very compelling, because I was kind of like, oh, they're dating. Like, it didn't seem... It seemed odd to me they kept going back and forth between whether they were or not, but I'm like, you clearly are. And though the kind of blurb hints at a love triangle, that peters out very, very quickly. And I also don't like love triangles, so I was kind of glad about that, but I just don't know why it was in the blurb so much, because it really isn't there. And lastly, while there are a few battle scenes and they are fun, there isn't that much action in the novel, so the title feels a little bit not disingenuous, but doesn't really hit the mark. The main character, she's not a warrior. She's not, kind of going against being a princess. She's just kind of this like awkward girl who's dropped into situations and has to kind of figure stuff out. And while that is nice, is we don't need every woman to be a warrior. I kind of was suspecting something a little different from the title, but what, that's okay. All of these things, didn't really take away from my enjoyment of the novel. I thought the novel was really fun. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. So if you like fairy tale adaptations, if you love queer stories, I think you should totally check it out because it is a lot of fun. It's an easy read and it's entertaining. It's got some pretty funny parts, so that was good too. Thank you so much to the publisher for the e-arc and to you people for watching my review.